Imagine a creature that walks among us, a being that wears the skin of a wolf, a coyote, or even another human. In the heart of the American Southwest, whispers of the Skinwalker have haunted generations. Stories so terrifying, the Navajo people still hesitate to speak of them aloud. Among the Navajo, the Skinwalker is not just a ghost story. It is the darkest form of witchcraft, a person who turned to evil to gain unimaginable powers. These witches walk freely at night, taking the form of animals, wolves, owls, coyotes, to hunt, stalk, and terrify.
The path to becoming a skinwalker is not one of accident or misfortune. It is a deliberate and treacherous journey into darkness. It begins in the desolate heart of the American Southwest, under a sky stripped of stars, where the wind whispers forgotten secrets through canyons, carved by time. This is a ritual of forbidden knowledge, a dark inversion of sacred ceremonies passed down not in wisdom, but in hushed, fearful tones. It is a pact made with shadows, a deliberate tearing of the fabric of one's own soul. The price of this power is absolute, the toll unthinkable. The legends are unflinching in their clarity. To unlock this terrifying potential, one must commit the ultimate betrayal, the sacrifice of a close blood relative. A brother, a parent, a child. This is not merely an act of violence, it is a calculated spiritual murder, a severing of the most profound connection a human can know, performed within a circle of ash and flickering candlelight. In that final, unforgivable moment, as the life they cherished fades, the last vestiges of their own humanity are annihilated. The warmth of kinship is replaced by an eternal, chilling void. Through this act they sever the last ties to the world of man, and the gateway to monstrous power swings open. This is when the transformation begins. It is not a gift bestowed, but a curse that violently takes hold. The body is racked with unimaginable pain, as bones snap and reform, muscles tear and re-knit into new monstrous forms. The mind, once human, is fractured, flooded with the primal instincts of the predator. They gain the ability to wear the skins of other creatures, to move with the silence of the coyote or the strength of the bear. They can shapeshift at will, becoming a perfect imitation of the animal they choose. But this mimicry is a hollow echo. In gaining the power of the beast, they lose their soul. They can wear a human face, walk among their old communities, but they are a lie, a ghost in their own skin, incapable of love, empathy, or peace. They are forever cursed, driven by an insatiable hunger, not just for flesh, but for the terror they inspire. They wander the liminal spaces, the twilight hours, and the lonely roads, belonging nowhere. They are outcasts from humanity and abominations to nature, their existence a perpetual act of terror. This is the eternal damnation of the Skinwalker.
Across the Navajo Nation, the stories persist. Footsteps in the sand that follow you, even when you're alone. Eyes glowing in the darkness, watching from the cliffs. Figures that mimic the voices of your loved ones, calling you by name, only to lure you into the shadows.
The encounters are the stuff of nightmares, whispered in hushed tones and rarely shared with outsiders. It often begins subtly, a feeling of being watched in the vast, isolating expanse of the desert night. Then come the sounds. Families in remote homes speak of sharp knocks on their windows, the dry, rasping sound of claws scratching at their doors. There's an intelligence to it, a malevolent persistence. Soon, the sounds can become more personal. A voice on the wind, mimicking a family member calling for help from just beyond the light. A child's cry, a spouse's shout, a cruel trick to lure you into the waiting darkness. Those who dare to look describe a sight that defies logic, a coyote or a wolf, contorting its body to stand on two legs. Its form seems to shimmer and shift, and its eyes glow with a disturbing human-like intelligence that watches and waits. But the Skinwalker is not bound to the homestead. It haunts the lonely roads that slice through the territory. Travelers recount harrowing tales of being paced, then hunted. A flicker of movement at the edge of their headlights resolves into a figure running alongside their car. It's not human, and it's not animal. It moves with an impossible loping gait, easily keeping pace as the speedometer climbs to 70, then 80 miles per hour. The intent feels terrifyingly clear, to run them off the road. The creature's eyes, sometimes described as glowing, a faint predatory amber, lock onto the driver, a gaze that paralyzes with primal terror. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, it's gone, vanished into the desert night. But the encounter is never truly over. This is perhaps the most insidious aspect of the legend, the silence that follows. Many who witness such an event refuse to speak of it again. It's more than just fear that seals their lips. It's a deeply ingrained cultural belief that to speak of the Skinwalker, to give voice to its name, is to invite it back. It's a summons. The act of telling the story can mark you, making you a target. The terror becomes a secret they are forced to carry, alone. A haunting memory that isolates them in a prison of silence.
But the legend is not contained within the Navajo. At the infamous Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, reports of bizarre lights, UFOs, and terrifying creatures have drawn investigators from around the world. Scientists, soldiers, and journalists have all left with the same uneasy feeling. Something unnatural stalks that land. To the Navajo people, even speaking the name Skinwalker is dangerous. It is believed that acknowledging them attracts their attention, inviting them closer. This silence has preserved the mystery, but it has also deepened the fear. Skeptics say skinwalkers are only folklore, myths born from isolation, fear, and the dangers of the desert. But believers argue that the sheer number of consistent accounts cannot be ignored. Could these creatures be something more, a remnant of ancient curses, or even something not of this world?
Perhaps the most chilling thought is this: the legends of the Navajo speak of them in hushed, fearful tones, as beings of immense power and profound transgression. But what if the stories aren't just cautionary tales whispered around a dying fire? What if they are a warning? The true horror of the Skinwalker isn't found in its monstrous forms or its malevolent acts, it lies in its origin. These were once people, shamans who, in their lust for forbidden power, shattered the most sacred taboos of their culture. They sacrificed their own humanity for the ability to become anything or anyone, and that is a power perfectly suited for the modern world. We live in a society of masks, both literal and metaphorical. We present curated versions of ourselves online and in public. How difficult would it be for a creature, a master of imitation, to slip into the cracks of our civilization? To wear the face of a stranger you pass on the street, a new colleague at work, or even a friend you thought you knew. Think about it, the uncanny feeling of being watched when you're alone, the flicker of movement in your peripheral vision that you dismiss as a trick of the light, the animal that stares just a little too long with an intelligence in its eyes that feels unnervingly human. We are conditioned to rationalize these moments, to find logical explanations for the unsettling. But what if we're wrong? What if these are not glitches in our perception but glimpses behind the veil? If skinwalkers are real, they may not just belong to the wind-swept mesas and shadowed canyons of the past. They wouldn't be confined to legend, they would have adapted, evolved. They could be walking among us, unseen, their ancient hunger hidden behind a familiar smile. They are the ultimate predator, not just of the body, but of trust, of certainty. They turn our world of concrete and technology into a wilderness where we can no longer be sure who or what is standing next to us. They are waiting, they are watching. The truth may not just be closer than we think, it might be looking back at us from our own reflection. If this story unsettled you, like, share, and comment below. Would you dare to face a skinwalker in the dark? What would you do if you realized the person closest to you wasn't who you thought they were? Subscribe for more legends, mysteries, and the unexplained horrors that lurk just beyond the edges of our understanding. The following recording was recovered from an abandoned research facility.